wonderful voice on there, special guest. One person knows older, that's fantastic. Hello! Wow, there's a lot of you tonight. You're fantastic. Thank you for coming out on a Friday night. Welcome to my show. It is called Happy. Yay! Yay! That seemed like a great idea when I called it Happy before the start of the festival. Yeah. This is we've got one more show to go. I've done 19 of these. Yeah. But it's still, you know, it sounds like a bit of a challenge being happy every night, but still much easier than changing the title of the show every evening. Not very much harder. Gavin Baskerville is getting tired. Gavin Baskerville is really pissed off. Gavin Baskerville is suicidal. One night only. It's not like I set up a MySpace page about it or anything. Too soon? Oh, alright. That's a good start. The show's called Happy. No one's supposed to be happy tonight. I am very happy tonight, and because obviously I'm happy that you guys are here for a start. I'm also happy because I got some fantastic news today, some good news. I just found out Bad Handwriting magazine has just named me Australia's most illegible bachelor. Pretty good about that. And I hope you're feeling happy too. You might not be though, I don't know, you might be feeling a bit down. If anybody's feeling a bit down, just raise your hand. Anybody's feeling a bit down? No? Okay. If anybody's angry or pissed off, just yell out. Okay, and if you're happy and you know it? Been watching Sesame Street, excellent. I've got some spirit fingers up the front as well, excellent. Happy bunch of people you are, that's good. The reason I called this show Happy was because I've found myself being very happy the last few years, and because I never used to be. I used to be one of those really negative, cynical sort of people, and for a while I actually thought I was suffering from depression. Fortunately, it just turned out to be the recession that I had to have. A bit of a J-curve and everything. But no, what happened 18 months ago, I moved to Tasmania. Hey! We've got some Tasmanians here. Now most people would say, why the hell would you move to Tasmania? Basically, cheap parking. Yeah, seriously. I was living in Melbourne for 5 years, and you know, it's like, I mean, there's one place down on Collins Street which charges like $42 for 3 hours. It's insane, you know. And in Tassie, it's like, you know, 60 cents for a year or something. Seriously, I didn't know though. I didn't know. And the first time I was down there and I parked in the city, out of habit, I put $6 in the meter. And now I own Hobart. So I thought I'd stick around, but that's okay because it's good there, and it's been going well and having a great time. It was there that, well, basically what happened, something happened to me while I was down there that changed my life, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you about tonight. I can see a couple of looks of panic. I just want to assure you it had nothing to do with Jesus. Okay? And I'm not going to try and sell you Amway. Have you heard of Herbalife? More grenades from the back, good on you guys. I had somebody from Herbalife in the other night, so that's fantastic. Yes, but basically, you know, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a, you know, a psychologist even. I'm just a guy that sort of bumbled through life. And one day I woke up feeling pretty good. I thought, gee, what is this feeling? I think I feel happy. And then I thought, well, that was weird. That was kind of easy. I don't know why we sort of pretend like it's such a hard thing. Because we do, don't we? We kind of think like happiness is this unattainable goal that we have to spend our whole life searching for. We have to move to Tibet or something and try and find it. But I think it should be easier than that. I think everybody has the right to be happy. You know, we all have a notion of what it is to be happy. We know the things that make us happy. I'm sure you guys do. I should get to know you guys a little bit. Oh, there, what was your name there? Manuela. Well, that's a lovely name. Thank you for coming along to the show. What's something that makes you happy, Manuela? Oh, coming to a comedy show. That's a good start. Yeah, he's looking up in the front row. That's what we like. Excellent. That's a good one. Hi, what's your name?
Meredith.
Meredith. Lovely to meet you, Meredith. What's something that makes you happy?
Oh, my beer.
Beer! That's great! That's on the crowd. We've got the beer. No, that's good. Beer makes you happy. That's right. Drinking makes you happy. Not so much the next day, but
Just one or two.
Just one or two.
Moderation.
In moderation. Sensible happy. That's what that's good. And you there? What's your name? Tim. Lovely to meet you, Tim. What's something that makes you happy?
Open space.
Open space? Ooh, that's an interesting one. You're a bit claustrophobic, eh? Open space. Well, that's cool. I love the things. I get different things every night. The best one so far was 2 nights ago. A girl in the front row said, a tube of condensed milk. You go, oh, what did I think of that? Yeah, that's but I love it too because there's always different things and it doesn't take much to make you happy, you know, it can be simple little things too, like open space and stuff. I've been loving this weather that we've been having. I know the farmers are a bit pissed off, but this is, coming back to Melbourne, this is fantastic to have this great weather, you know. Yesterday what I did was just to relax a bit before the show, I just went down and sat in the park in the sun because again, you know, there's something you just don't take the time out to do. And while I was sitting there, this lovely thing happened which I just thought fit into the show nicely, so I thought I'd tell you about it. And while I was sitting there, this dog came running up to me. Right? It was like a Labrador, I think, and he'd found a stick. So he brings it up to me, and you know that great excited look, dogs do that, excited look. And then I went, all right mate, so I got the stick and gave it a chuck. Away he went after it, and he grabbed the stick, and he brought it back to me, and he looked up at me again, all excited, and went, all right mate, got the stick again, gave it another chuck. Away he went, he grabbed the stick, he brought it back. He looked up at me again, all excited, and went, all right mate, got the stick, gave it another chuck. Away he went, he brought it back. And he looked up at me again, and it was about then that I realised, you know, what's great about dogs? They just don't get bored. That's fantastic. I mean, it's weird. We were doing this for like an hour, you know, and then, I mean, I was getting very tired. But still, I felt worse for the blind guy that had to run up and down with him. Oh, you all feel ripped off, you know. I thought that was a real story. He's a comedian, damn it. But no, it doesn't take much, you know, there's little things you can do to enjoy things. And you should indulge in those things that make you happy, you know, make the most of it, you know, drink if you can, and, you know, go out and enjoy the things. Because there's also this thing we do where we kind of feel like we're not allowed to be happy, or we feel guilty if we do something. We even talk about guilty pleasures. You know, so we're worried about doing stuff that's fun or enjoying it. And I think that stems from the fact that we kind of, you know, when we turn on the news, you know, we're always told how terrible the world is, you know, and it's all this war and greed and corruption and death and destruction and Danny Minogues and oh, this world is terrible and you think all these poor people that are suffering, you know, we shouldn't be allowed to be happy. But I don't think that's really fair, because I think we do. We should be allowed to be happy. But like I said, we see all this stuff in the world, and even down to the fact that, you know, when somebody asks you how you are, you know, it's kind of socially acceptable to say, oh, I'm good, or I'm okay, but anything more is kind of a bit inappropriate, isn't it? You know, a couple of weeks ago, a friend asked me how I was, and I said to him, well, you know what, I'm great. I'm actually feeling really good, probably the best I have in years. I'm probably the happiest I've ever been, you know, and I could just feel it with this glare of like, what gives you the right to be so happy? What sort of attitude is that, you know? But it was his mum's funeral, so I thought I'd cut off and say, oh, some more groans. We've got groaners in tonight. I love groaners. I don't normally do jokes about funerals, I should point out, and that seems like an odd thing to say, but the reason is, and this isn't a joke, my father is actually a funeral director. I can't even say it. He's a funeral director, right? And now that you'd think as a comedian that'd be comedy gold, wouldn't you? You just have wealth of material. But I don't do jokes about funerals, not because I'm sensitive about it, but because growing up with a father who is a funeral director, I have heard every dead joke there is to the point that I'm sick to death of them, right? Because as soon as somebody finds out this, it's like, oh, you must work in the dead centre of town? Oh, that must be a dead-end job. He's the last funeral that'll let you down. I never laughed. You could say their jokes died. Get it done, just that's a funeral. Yeah. You know, basically you get sick of it very quickly. You know, I got very desensitised to the whole funeral thing, you know, the whole dead person thing. Right down to, you know, when that movie The Sixth Sense came out, you know, I was like, big deal. When I was a kid, I saw dead people too. They didn't look like Bruce Willis though, I can tell you that much, right? They looked more like this. Not nice at all, right? It wasn't very pleasant, and I should, you know, but it wasn't all bad. I should say, having a funeral director in the family, there were upsides. For a start, we had access to a nice big fridge at Christmas time. Hang in there, groaners. There's more. That's true. And nobody ever bugged us for a lift anywhere. That was nice. And he wasn't always a funeral director either, I should point that out. You know, it wasn't like he was always one, because he started out as a funeral extra. Yeah, you know, just oh, there's a late reaction from the groaners, isn't it? You know, it was just sort of non-speaking roles in the crowd at Mourners. Eventually he got to move his way up and pursue his true passion, directing. And he kind of hoped, I guess he kind of hoped that somewhere down the track I might sort of take over the family business, you know, that would be, but like, I don't think I'll be doing that. I don't know. I mean, for a start, I just can't quite work out how I could juggle working as a funeral director and having a career in comedy. You know, let's face it, that's not going to mix very well. I can see myself in about 20 years, you know, at the funeral. Hey, welcome along to Alfred's funeral. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. G'day, ma'am. How are you? So your husband died, eh? Oh, but it's not the first time he finished before you. Hey, hey. Oh, it's like a funeral in here. I'm dying. I better get in the box with Alfred. Actually, he's giving me a better response than you guys. Hey, Alfred, what do you do for a living? Oh, I mean a dying. Geez, I've dug a bit of a hole for myself here. That's all right. I dug one for Alfred too. Thanks very much. Good night. Yeah, I don't think the grown-ups would like that. No, that's what, I mean, yeah, there's no way that was going to work out. So I'm not interested in getting into the funeral industry. And people often think too that because I grew up around that it would have been some sort of morbid upbringing. But it wasn't at all. To be honest, I actually had a very happy childhood, which is a bit of a pain in the bum, because it's very hard to be a dysfunctional adult when you can't blame your parents. That's for nothing, Mum and Dad. No, I grew up in Perth, in WA. We got anybody from Perth into that? No? Oh wow, that's amazing. So I grew up in Perth, and most people think of Perth, they sort of think of sunny beaches and windsurfing and all that sort of stuff. I grew up at the other end of town, in a little place called Maddington. Now Maddington, to paint a picture for you, it's kind of one of those suburbs where being well off meant having 2 burnt out cars in the driveway. Yeah, you know, very traditional. Mum stays home while Dad's down the skateboard park. Yeah, so we grew up, you know, so it was a pretty poor sort of area, pretty poor environment to grow up in, because the funeral industry, despite what people think, doesn't pay that well. But Mum and Dad were good, because they never made us feel like I missed out on anything, you know, like they always found ways to make sure that we had the same opportunities that the other kids had, despite having no money. So for example, well, the other kids got to play Operation. Remember that game, Operation? Really cool. Yeah, well, the other kids got to do that. I got to remove my own appendix. Well, the other kids got bikes for Christmas. Dad gave me bolt cutters. The gift that keeps on giving. And another thing that was popular when I was growing up was Nintendo. A lot of kids had Nintendo. We didn't have that. What we had was a space set aside in front of the TV where we planned to put a game system in one day. We called it Nintendo. That was worth it growing. But yeah, so basically early on, like I learned early on that it's not about what you have or what you don't have, and I learned to make do, you know. So, and I think, you know, when it comes to our happiness too, you know, whether we consciously or subconsciously admit it, I think most of us kind of think that being happier would somehow involve having more money. That'd be a pretty fair assumption when most people think we have more money, we'd be happy. That's why we do Lotto, isn't it? Yeah, Lotto's great. Oh, what I like about Lotto is it makes people more optimistic. You know, everybody thinks they're going to win Lotto. Just once I'd like to meet somebody who's realistic about Lotto. Just going, oh man, lost $6 on the Lotto again this weekend. Yeah? We don't think like that. We've got this great optimistic attitude, and I think that's good. But we do want more money because we think it makes us happier. Interestingly, there was a study, I don't know if you saw it, there's an article in The Age a few days ago about the happiness and the wealthiest nations in the world. And they've sort of been studying this, and they've found some interesting things. Australia is one of the most affluent countries in the world right now, but from a happiness point of view, we actually rate 1 below Eritrea. Now, most of us don't even know where Eritrea is, all right? Which is probably why they're happy. They haven't got any Australian backpackers there. But it's interesting that, you know, it doesn't matter how wealthy we are, we're not as happy. And they asked a whole heap of questions to work this out. One of the questions they asked I thought was quite interesting, and I'll put it to you guys to see. I'm going to paraphrase it just for the sake of conciseness. But essentially, they asked people this: would you rather be earning $50,000 a year while everyone you knew around you earned $25,000 a year, or would you rather earn $100,000 a year while everyone else you knew earned $250,000 a year? Thoughts? Tim?
I'd go to 50.
You go to 50? Yeah, that's what most people said, actually. There you go, that's the kind of thing, yeah. Most people probably agree, yeah. Because that's what they found was interesting, because people would rather have less money to buy things, provided they had more money than those around them. which isn't surprising because we're kind of competitive. But it does point to some interesting ideas on how you might be able to feel happier. If you're living in a suburb, you know, and you're trying to, you know, a bit worried about your financial situation and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, all you have to do is move somewhere more crap than where you are now. You can start in Maddington. Oh, they don't. That's another thing. But yeah, or maybe if you feel like you need a pay rise, but your boss is a bit stingy, instead of asking for a pay rise, just ask them to cut everyone else's pay by 50%. I actually think that's part of the new work choices. Oh, we're going to pray there. Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, so it's interesting because what that points to is that we kind of we actually want to feel sort of superior to those ranks because we're competitive creatures, you know. And this actually points to where I think happiness actually lies. Not in feeling superior to others, because that would be very good, but rather in feeling better about ourselves. Because when I moved to Hobart, I sort of had to start again. I left a lot of stuff behind. I sort of started with a new job, new friends, new family. Not new family. That'd be good. You just go, I've got a new family. New friends, new job, all that sort of stuff. And I found myself quite relaxed and feeling quite good about things. And I thought, gee, I feel quite happy. And I started thinking about all the things that made me happy and tried to work out what all those things had in common. So if we take all the things that you guys were talking about before, you know, whether it's the open spaces or drinking or what was the other one we had there?
Comedy show.
Oh, come and see me, yeah. Of course I got that one. How's that going anyway? But yeah, if we take all those things, all the things that you enjoy, right? And it could be anything, you know, it could be doing a crossword puzzle, it could be bungee jumping, it could be having sex, it could be watching somebody have sex, you know, it could be, there's all sorts of things it could be, but they all have one thing in common, and that's when you're doing something you enjoy, you kind of get absorbed in it, right? To the point where, while you're doing what you enjoy, for that short time, the rest of the world actually kind of disappears. For the short time that you're doing something you enjoy, you're not worried about what you look like, you're not worried about what other people think of you, you're not worried about what you have to do tomorrow, you're not worried about you know, the neighbours that are giving you the shits. You know, you just get to be yourself for that short time. And that's what I think the happiness is. That's the happiness that we want to find, is being yourself. Because we don't get to feel like that very much. That's why kids are so much fun. You know, why they look so happy. They run around, they're having a great time because they don't care. They haven't loaded themselves up with anxieties and pressures and all that sort of stuff yet. So they can just do what they like. You know, they can just strip down to their undies and run through a sprinkler. You know, there's a certain age you're not allowed to do that anymore. I'm not sure what that age is. I know it's not 33. And now you've got water restrictions, they probably can't even do that anymore. But you know what I mean, like kids can do what they like, they can be, and we don't get to feel like that as adults, because we put all these anxieties and pressures on ourselves, we sabotage our happiness all the time. I remember years ago, I was working really hard and I had a holiday, I had 2 weeks off, and I thought, right, I have to relax for this holiday, I've got to make the most of this holiday. So what I did was I decided to cram as much as I could into that holiday. All the things I like doing, I wanted to meet up with friends, I wanted to travel, I wanted to do all this stuff. So what happened though, I ended up with this holiday that was crammed full of so many things and was such a full-on itinerary. I ended up more stressed and busier and more tired by the end of the holiday than I was before I left. I had to go back to work to relax, right? I do things, I remember I went to this party one night to relax, right, and have fun. And ended up spending the whole night worried about what I looked like, you know? I mean, it was a really nice dress. Right? I thought it made my bum look big, right? Because we do that, you know, we worry about what we look like all the time, don't we? And we turn on the TV and that's telling us, oh, you're not cool enough, you're not, you know, fit enough, you know, you've got to lose weight, all that sort of stuff. They say things like, my favourite one is, look good, feel good. With this notion of look good, feel good. I think the problem with that is that we've spent so long looking in the mirror, we've got everything back to front, all right? We think if we make ourselves, you know, more attractive by, you know, with plastic surgery or dressing the right way or doing our hair or whatever, that by making ourselves more attractive, we'll feel better about ourselves. But the truth is, if you feel better about yourselves, you will automatically be more attractive. All right? You think about it. With somebody who's relaxed with themselves, you know, they're calm, they're easy to get on with. You think, oh, they're kind of nice. I kind of want to hang around with this person. So what happens is people get drawn to you when you're yourself. Which is much better. What you want is you want people to be drawn to you because you're yourself, not sucked in by you because you're pretending to be something you're not, right? Because that's this sort of notion. We feel like we have to be. And you only got to ask yourself, you've been on a first date or in a job interview with somebody who's trying to impress you. You know, I mean, you can see straight through it, can't you? It's just terrible. They're trying too hard, you can do it. I've been there, I've tried to do it, I've tried to impress people, I've tried to sound cool and sound intelligent. Shit, I'm doing it now, right? I do, and you try to sound cool and sound intelligent. You can't do it, you can't fake intelligence. Unless you need a reason to go to war. But you know, you've got to be yourself, because as yourself, like I said, you're going to be more of it. I want to illustrate this point with a story about my sister. My sister's name is Jane. She lives in Perth, right? Now for years she wanted to find a boyfriend. So every Friday night she'd dress up, do herself up, go out to all the nightclubs, the supposedly cool nightclubs, and try and, you know, meet nice guys. Of course she didn't, she just met losers and idiots the whole time, you know. And this went on for years, and it was just pointless. And I kept saying to her, you know, just relax, be yourself. You'll meet somebody when you least expect it. Right? Now we've all heard that, and of course she didn't believe it, right? So she kept going on, yeah, I've heard that one, right? So that's what she did. She went on, so she kept going on Friday nights all the time. Nothing ever worked out. Eventually she got fed up and said, you know what, I've got enough going on in my life, I don't really have time for a boyfriend, I'm not going to worry about looking for one. 2 weeks later, she went out with some friends, had some drinks, and fell down an escalator. Oh, that's not the end of the story. That would be a terrible story. No, she fell down an escalator, but she sprained her ankle really badly. Now, her friends, in their infinite wisdom, decided the way to kill the pain in the ankle is to give her more alcohol. Exactly. What, you were there? Yeah, to drink more. So they plied her full of alcohol. So she basically ended up legless and ankleless. Complete mess. Now, one of her male friends, Mike, lovely guy, could see what was going on, could see that she was completely off her head and she couldn't walk, so he thought, oh, I better make sure she gets home safely. Right, so he offers to drive her home. On the way home, Jane gets a little bit sick, throws up on herself. Looking good, right? So now Mike gets her home, he's got to get her out of the car, she can't walk, she's covered in vomit. You know, it's all going really well. But he does, he gets her inside, he gets her to the toilet, and he waits outside for her because he knows that she's a bit out of it. This is where it gets a little bit icky. While she was sitting on the toilet, she got sick again and promptly threw up into her own underwear. If you know he laughs off the back, I'm a bit worried. So yeah, so this is a complete mess, right? But Mike's outside, he knows that she still, you know, really needs help here, so he's got to do the right thing. So he helps her out of the thing, cleans her up, gets her to bed. He doesn't do anything. I should point out, the first vomit pretty much eliminated any romantic intentions, alright? No, instead he let her sleep it off. Next morning, came back, checked up on her, looked after her, helped her, you know, piggybacked her around where needed, and in the course of their healing, they fell in love and they're getting married next February. Yeah, isn't that lovely story, you know? So it illustrates my point. All that time, she was going out, trying to be the right thing, you know, dressing up, doing all that stuff. You know, she never met anybody, and the time she actually relaxes, she finally gets to find somebody who gets to fall in love with her for who she really is, which is a drunken idiot. But that's what Mike likes, so you know, there's somebody for everybody, alright? So girls, you know, if you think you've done everything to find the man of your dreams, can I suggest throwing up in your own underwear? You won't get that advice from Cosmo girls. But yeah, like I said, I think it illustrates my point. And really, if you're looking for a relationship, let's be honest about it, you want to find somebody who really accepts you for who you are, yeah? I mean, there's no point being in a relationship where you pretend, you know, where you're pretending. That's not going to work. Guys do it all the time. There's, you know, act all suave and cool, and we're buying all the flowers and being all romantic. They get into the relationship about 2 weeks and go, oh, fuck, I can't keep this up. It all falls apart, doesn't it? That's what happens every time. So, you know, you can't do it. You've got to find somebody who's going to accept you for who you are. And because relationships are a whole kettle of fish, I'm not going to get too bogged down into the space that could be a whole festival show, and I think it is in a few places around at the moment. Right? So what I might do is just summarise relationships in a concise way. I thought I'd take a leaf out of Dr. Phil's book, because Dr. Phil's always good with the analogies. I reckon Dr. Phil would probably say something like, a relationship is a lot like a new automobile. You know, when you first get in it looks good, and it feels real nice, and it runs real good. But eventually, little things start to go wrong. You start noticing little things that need to be fixed. And you gotta fix those things. Because if you don't fix those things, eventually they mount up till that car just don't run no more. Because the car ain't going to fix itself. Unless you're driving a love bug. But sometimes you might get into, you buy a car that ain't right for you at all. You know, you thought it looked great, but then you got inside it and found it had so much wrong with it, you just want to cut your losses and get yourself a new car. Well, whatever you do, don't go driving a new car while the old car's still in the driveway. That's what Daddy said. Your arms ain't long enough to drive two cars at the same time. He also said if you're going to impersonate someone, you make sure it sounds like them and not just like Mr. Mackey from South Park. Okay? Very wise man, Dr. Phil's dad. Very wise man. So yeah, as far as relationships go, I'm very lucky. I've been very fortunate. I've met a lovely girl in Hobart. Her name's Jane. I know that's the same name as my sister. I just want to point out she's not my sister. Make that clear, alright? It's not like I moved to Tasmania and thought, oh, when in Rome. No, it's just coincidence she had the same name. And that was hard to deal with, let's face it. You know, I'm thinking, oh God, she's got the same name as my sister, what do I do? But then I thought, well, it could have been worse. She could have had the same name as my dad. It would have been a lot worse going out with a girl called Bevan. So Jamie, and she's great. She's here tonight, but I won't embarrass her by pointing around.
We will.
She's great. We actually met on the internet. Yeah, I was peddling hidden camera porn. She was running a Nigerian money scam. No, we actually met through an internet dating site, and I used to be a bit embarrassed by that. Didn't want to admit it, but you know what? It's worked out great. So I have no problem telling people now, and I recommend it for some people too. You know, it's not such a bad thing. You get to find out about people before you go out with them. That's all good. But you know, there are pitfalls, we know that. I'm not going to lie, you know, there's problems. It is off the internet after all. I mean, you know, there's advantages. The girls are cheaper, like everything online. Everybody's looking at Jane. But they are, like, there are pitfalls. Like I said, it is off the internet. There are problems when going on an internet date. The worst one is when you're about halfway through, suddenly you get hit with this 404 access denied error. Of course, too, you've got to watch out for viruses. A lot of them out there. Don't go out without your Nortons on. Worst of all, off the internet, of course, you don't want to end up with one of those girls who tells you 50 times a day that your penis needs enlargement. But people will lie about what they describe themselves weird too. You know, like they'll put up these profiles, they're not very accurate. I went out with one girl who told me that she had a body like a Barbie doll. Turned out she had an empty head and her knees made this weird cracking noise when they bent. Oh, and she had no nipples. But a really nice camper van, so... and a word of warning to the guys too. There are, on the internet, a lot of the ladies that are on the internet are also, I don't know how to describe them other than to call them estrogen-fueled sperm hunters. There's a lot of women that are just really keen to have kids. You know, it's almost like Tourette's with some women. It's like, hi, my name's Wendy. I'll be over here. It's a bit scary, so watch out for it. I was lucky though. Like Jane's been fantastic. She's everything I ever wanted. And I did have a list. You know, we have a list. You know, everybody has a list, and that's fine because you know there are deal breakers when you're getting into a relationship. Let's be honest about it. Things that all, you know, sour the deal. A few things I had to insist on. First thing, had to insist she had a nice voice. All right, that might sound fussy, but my name's Gavin. All right, that's bogan enough. I don't want to be hearing, oh, I love you, Gav. Other thing I had to insist on was that she knew how to spell correctly. Alright, and I think that's fair. You know, if somebody had a typo in their profile, straight out, right? Now that's, again, sounds fussy, but no, I value spelling, and I need to know that she knows how to spell, because, you know, if, say, down the track we do ever have children, I don't want to calling the kid Taylor, spelled T-A-Y-L-A. As people do that, don't they? Or worse, they make up names. Oh, and I wouldn't mind so much they make up names, but they make up those names that sort of sound like real names, but really aren't. You know, like Roisha, you know, Rebecca-ny. I was in a cafe the other week, and the staff all had name tags on. The girl that served me, trainee. What the heck? But at least it was spelled correctly, so you know. Because like I said, spelling's a bigger crime in my book, because people do that, you know, even if they give the kid a normal name, you've got to spell it differently, don't you? It's like, it's David, but it's spelled D-A-Y-V-E-D. What the hell? You know, I mean, I've heard of Barra, I've heard all sorts of, one's like, oh, excuse me while I choke. I've heard all sorts of variations of it. The worst one though, last year in Hobart, a girl was born, and they called it Crystal. You know, nice name, nothing wrong with Crystal, except Crystal is spelled X-T-A-L. You know, like Xmas is Christmas, Xtal is Crystal.
Oh, the greatest right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, say what you like about them, those bogies are creative, right? and you just know that they've reserved that privatised number plate. Unbelievable. And I've asked parents why they do that, and because I just thought people, you know, just were stupid, didn't know how to spell. But it turns out they tell me that the reason they spell the name differently is to give the kids some kind of individuality. But they're not really. What they're actually doing there is dooming that child to correcting people for the rest of their natural life. It's like, Greg, is it? No, it's Steve, actually. It says Greg here. Yeah, it's spelled Greg. It's pronounced Steve. So be fussy, you know, you've got things you got to do. And you know, and because you know, we don't put too much emphasis on a relationship, because what we're really searching for, as far as happiness goes, is you really just want some companionship. You know, as humans we need companionship, and you don't necessarily need that from another person. You can get that from a pet. You know, and well, you can, you know, especially if you don't have any luck finding a partner, you know. No, seriously, it is actually shown that people are happier if they've got pets. And again, I think this stems back to my theory, which is that you get to be yourself around a pet, don't you? You can just be yourself. Like, you know, a dog doesn't care what you look like. You couldn't care if you're having a bad hair day or if your feet smell. Couldn't care less, you know? You'll never feel inferior when you hang around with a creature that humps people's legs and rubs its arse on the car. Of course you're going to feel good, you know? I mean, that's why Simone went back to Warnie, let's face it. Actually, I live near a beach, and I go walking in the mornings, and most mornings, you know, people are walking their dogs on the beach and stuff, and most mornings, you know, walk past people, they'll give you a nod, g'day, how you doing, people wave, whatever. Most people are pretty sociable, unless their dog has pooed. I don't know why, you know, because when they poo on a beach, of course, they've got to pick it up with a plastic bag and then carry that with them. And there's something, I don't know what, there's something about the act of carrying poo in a plastic bag that stops people being sociable. They won't make eye contact, just get the eyes down, and just like, I don't know why, what do they think I'm going to do, you know? You got poo! Oh, you're carrying poo! Oh, you got that! As if I do that? Again. But that's a big difference I found too with pet owners and new parents. Pet owners seem to be a bit ashamed of the poo. New parents, oh, they love talking about poo. Oh my God, have you ever been stuck at a dinner party with a couple of new parents? Yeah, someone's nodding down here. You know, they just love talking about poo. Oh, how often and what colour it was and how runny it was and stuff. I'm trying to eat. Oh, what the hell? Every gross, disgusting detail. Apparently, you know, as a new, because I'm a non-parent, I don't understand. You know, yeah. I don't know what clicks. Something must change when you have children and it becomes acceptable. There's just something that snaps and suddenly that's fine to talk about poo at the dinner table, or they do. Another one I found too is, you know, people love showing you the baby photos when the baby's born and stuff. And there's, for some reason, maybe your friends haven't done this, I get pictures, and there's always one of the mum in the bed with the baby with her tits out. Like, that's okay. You know, get a photo of my wife's tits. You know, you didn't show me that before she had the baby. Why are you showing me that now? What clicks? What is that? Why is that acceptable all of a sudden? I don't know. Maybe it'll happen to me. Maybe if I have kids, that bit will snap in my brain, and I'll just be like all them, and you know, all my friends will be getting a barrage of emails, all these photos of the baby, like, oh God, here we go, another 100 photos of Gavin's bloody kid. No, and poo, excellent, photos of poo here. And what sort of name's Rebecca-y anyway? Something clicks. So I hope I never do that. I hope I never do that to my friends, because friends are important too. You've got to have your friends. It's good again for your companionship and for your happiness. Have friends, and I mean, you know, good friends too. That, you know, if your friends expect you to be a certain way, or you know, don't let you be yourself, you know, piss them off. You can get better friends than that. You know, get real friends. And I do mean real friends. You know, MySpace friends don't count. You know, people go, "No, I've got 100 MySpace friends." You're lonely. I don't even understand the MySpace thing. I've got the MySpace and I do not understand. Like, every day I get these friend requests and I've got to either approve or deny them, like some sort of guy. So I approve you as my friend, I deny you as my friend. I don't know what am I approving anyway? I mean, what are they accepting here? Are these people going to turn up on my front doorstep wanting a place to stay? Are they going to start picking me up for money? I don't know what these friends entail. Or are they just virtual friends? Is that how that works? Maybe. But I don't even know if I'm got enough commitment to that, you know. I mean, because that sounds a bit like an imaginary friend, doesn't it? I wasn't very good as that as a kid, you know. I mean, I had imaginary friends, but well, they were more like imaginary acquaintances, really. You know, we just weren't that close. You know, if I saw them in the street, I'd say hi. So yeah, I'm not sure about the virtual thing, but yeah, real friends are good, and real friends are good for support. Obviously, they're also great for bitching to about your job. Yeah, and it's really important to bitch to people about your job, because that's a great form of stress relief. Alright, it really is. It's one of the best forms. And stress is the biggest enemy to the happiness. Alright, you can't be happy where you've got stress, whether it's at work or at home or you know, whatever's causing it. You've got to get rid of the stress, so you need stress relief. Bitching's fantastic. I don't even know what sort of jobs you guys have got. You might have Tim. What do you do for a living?
Advertising copyright.
Advertising copyright. Is that a stressful job? It can be with deadlines and stuff like that. Yeah, that's fair enough. How about you guys? What do you do for a living?
I'm a nurse.
A nurse? Oh, and what nurse? We've had a lot of nurses into this show. Obviously, they're cheering up. That's cool. It's one of the, you know, you can even afford to buy the tickets. They don't pay you anywhere near enough, do they? What area of nursing are you in?
I work with a group of doctors.
A group? Oh, that'd be stressful. Oh, that's so I'm not sure about doctors. They're not GPs, are they?
Yeah.
So I reckon GP stands for guess and prescribe. I've got into acupuncture. I think acupuncture is fantastic.
Oh, does that?
Yeah, because that's fantastic. Acupuncture is fantastic. You know, they can cure pretty much anything with acupuncture, except pins and needles. So that's cool. And so are you stressed then? Do you find it stressful? No, not at all. Working with lovely doctors that don't make stress. See, I didn't think there was such a thing as a stress-free job.
I've just found it.
You've just found it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in nursing. Wow, that's fantastic. See, I thought the only stress-free job I could think of was if you were a stress ball tester. Okay, well, that's good. That's cool. And because people talk about stress management too, I always found that quite ironic, because in my experience, most stress caused by management. But, that's just it. Which is why I work for myself. I'm very lucky. I'm my own boss, which is excellent. It did mean the Christmas party was pretty shit. Pretty much just me standing around with a glass of cheap wine in a room. Oh, this is pretty dull. Knew I shouldn't have come. The Secret Santa, complete waste of time. Bath salts, what the hell was I thinking? So I just got drunk and had sex with myself on the photocopier. You would not believe the tension around the office the next day. I am such a bastard. I also work from home, and I don't recommend working from home, pretty much because it's very hard to throw a sickie. But also, you don't want to bring your work home. Don't bring your work home. I used to do that too when I was years ago. You know, I'd be really stressed at work and stuff. Then I'd get to my day off or my weekend, and you think, oh, I should be enjoying that. No, I'd spend the whole time bitching and miserable about my job. You know, it's so stupid. You know, people do that all the time. Pretty much, you know, the more you hate your job, the more you should be enjoying your time away from work. Yeah, the more your workmates piss you off, the more laxatives you put in their coffee. You've got to find ways to relax. And people tell me things like, oh, I've got this stressful job, and it's stressing me out, and it's making me miserable, but I really need the job to maintain my lifestyle. What sort of lifestyle are you having if you're stressed and miserable all the time? But if that's you, if that sounds familiar, if you know somebody like that, all I can suggest is keep it up. Yeah, absolutely. Knock yourselves out, get the blood pressure going, yeah, absolutely, work as hard as you can, because, if this festival doesn't work out, I might have to fall back on the funeral industry. What do I do with the clients? Bring on the heart attacks, kids. No, don't do that. Like, seriously, it's not worth it. Unless your lifestyle is so magnificent that to outweigh the stress of the job, then there's absolutely no point being stressed about work. You got to find jobs that suit you. And find a job that utilises your talents. Because again, you're going to be much happier, and humans are always much happier if they're doing something that we're good at. All right, so acknowledge your talents, find what they are, and find a job that suits it. I saw a beautiful example of this last week. There was a guy who's one of those statue guys. The guys who pretend to be a statue at the... and he found the perfect job for himself, doing road work for the council. Just on the shovel. People throwing coins at his feet. Make a fortune. Find a job that suits you and find a job that you enjoy, And of course, I know sometimes you might be stuck in a job that you really can't get out of, or you haven't been able to find another job, and you think, oh, this is shit. It's never going to get any better. To get through that, you need, and I don't like using this word because it puts people off, but the word faith. All right, you need faith. Now, people go, oh, it's religion. And I'm not talking about religion, and I don't want to take anything away from religion, though. It is shown that people who are religious are more likely to be happy. They're also more likely to write Tarago bands. With bumper stickers often. Actually, this guy, did you know, there's a van driving around the city at the moment, and he's painted the whole thing up, and it says, honk if you love Jesus. Did you see that guy? I thought, that's fantastic, except what do you do if he's in your way? Yes, I love Jesus too, yes. Oh, look, they must love Jesus, they're yelling Jesus at me. Get out of the way! But that's weird. But, sorry, back to faith. Faith isn't a whole religious thing. The way I see faith is about remembering that things will get better. Because we forget that. We forget that things will get better. You're going to look back on your own life and realise that, there were tough times, there were things that weren't going well, but eventually it'll get better. And we forget that. So what we do instead is we put our faith in the wrong things. We start putting them into, some people put it into God, but some put faith into stupid things like astrology. All right? Now, I know when things weren't going well for me, first thing I do is start reading the stars. Every day in the paper, come on Capricorn, come on, give us something good. Oh, I don't believe in that shit anyway. Some stuff like that, or we start looking at psychics and tarot readers and stuff, because we want to believe that there's something out there that's bigger than us that can assure us that things will get better one day. But you don't need that. You can have faith, like I said, in your own experience and in yourself. Look back and know that things will get better. The tough thing to do is to hang on during that time and not give into it, right? But there's things you can do to get through the tough times and to hang on there that'll help. One of the things that we forget to do, and it's a pretty obvious one, is to be grateful for stuff. All right? We don't do this very often, but tonight when you go home, I want you to look around your house, look at the stuff you've got, look at your friends you've got, your family, all that sort of stuff, and be grateful for it. And if you go home and you honestly can't find anything to be grateful for, just be grateful that you don't live in Geelong. If you do live in Geelong, be grateful you're not there now. That's all about perspective. I had some people in from Geelong the other night. They didn't like that joke. They were a bit angry, but that's all right. But yeah, so seriously, you can find something to be grateful for, because again, it's proven, scientifically proven, that it is almost impossible to be unhappy while you're being grateful for something. Right? I'm not quite sure why they had to do a scientific study to work that out. It seemed pretty obvious to me. I should also point out, I've mentioned a lot of studies and scientific studies. I actually wanted to do my own scientific research for this show, but I had a few moral issues that I couldn't get over. Because as you know, you can't possibly conduct any scientific research without first harpooning a whale. At least that's what my science teacher, Mr. Sakamoto, So I've had to rely on existing studies, but they're good. Like the gratitude one's fantastic, because you'll be happier while you're being grateful for stuff. So be grateful for what you've got. Be grateful for your friends. Be grateful for your family. Be grateful when people do nice things for you. You know, we don't do that often enough. Or better still, do nice things for people. Because that makes you happy. That's a great way to improve your happiness. You know, and help somebody out, throw 20 cents to the salvos, you'll feel fantastic. You know, and you don't have to do a lot, you don't have to go overboard, you don't have to become one of those annoying people that, you know, is so goody two-shoes, makes us all feel bad. You know, we all know those sort of people, they give us the shits, we know. Oh well, so you sponsor 5 children in the Sudan, you know? Oh, so you built an orphanage in Bangladesh, you know? Good on you. I did 3 hours of the 40-hour famine when I was 12. Watched nearly all of the Tsunami concert. Counted for something. I love Australia, especially with the things we get behind. We're really good at getting into that. You know, when that big tsunami happened, we were fantastic. We all chipped in. We had concerts. We raised heaps of money. We were really good. But I don't know if you knew this, but about 3 weeks ago there was a tsunami in the Solomon Islands. Hundreds of people killed, thousands put out of homes, all that sort of stuff. Absolute devastation. 2 days later, wasn't even on the news anymore. It kind of reminded me of that old Zen meditation. If a tree falls in a forest and it doesn't hit an AFL footballer, will anybody notice? Something to meditate on. So do nice things for people, like I said, because it does, it makes you feel good. And of course, I should also point out, there's no point, you know, doing nice things for one lot of people while you're doing nasty stuff to other people. That doesn't count. You know? There's a word for somebody who does nice things for one lot of people and stabs a whole lot of others in the back. They're called politicians. Ooh! Yay! I'm not going to get political tonight because you know, it is an election year and I'm certainly not going to bag out our Prime Minister. Because as my mum always said, you know, if you can't say anything nice about someone, they're probably a prick. Now, for your happiness, the other thing, you know, I've given you a few ideas of things you can do to be happy, but the other thing you've got to make sure of, and again, through the tough times, try and be healthy. You know, try and look after yourself and be healthy. And I know that's hard. The nurses here can assure us that's hard. You know, because I don't know what to do anymore to be healthy. You know, they've got Sigrid Thornton on the telly now telling us what we're supposed to do, but I don't know, everything kills us. Everything kills us. It's always the stuff I like. There seems to be the stuff that kills you. And it's dumb stuff now too, you know, like, oh, if you have too much bread in your diet, that'll give you cancer. If you have too much dairy in your diet, that'll give you cancer. One study even said, if you have too much vitamin C in your diet, you're still going to get cancer. You know, what am I supposed to do? You know, because I can't become a vegetarian. Because I don't know if you know this, but if you're a vegetarian and your diet consists of things like tofu and lentils, did you know you are 10 times more likely to be a self-righteous hippie wanker? And nobody wants that. Apologies to any vegetarians. The people from Geelong did. To be fair, I've got a friend who's a vegetarian. He has this great saying. He says, oh, I won't eat anything that has a face. I'm like, big deal, man. I won't eat anything that has a face either. Fortunately, that's the first thing they cut off at the abattoir. But in his defence, you know, when you really think about it, you know, it's kind of hard to morally justify eating meat. When you really break it down, you know, killing an animal to eat it, it's hard to justify morally. But I really like meat, so I've decided to justify it logically. This is my theory. Any animal that can't defend itself against a compressed air bolt gun is fair to eat. Woo! Yeah! Right? Seriously, think like this. Just follow this through. Those who are non-believers, just follow this through, right? You've seen the footage in the abattoir, right? Well, I assume you have. There's a cow standing there. There's a guy with a compressed air bolt gun. He pretty much, pretty casually walks over to it, puts it to the cow's head, pulls the trigger, down it goes, right? The cow has no defence against that. Moo is all it's been given, right? This is my theory, right? Cows, sheep, chickens, if they weren't food, they wouldn't be here, alright? Survival of the fittest, they wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for man, where were they? They weren't, you know, I don't remember seeing pictures of sheep galloping through the jungle. No, cows around in the wild. No, they would never have survived. A chicken can't even fly. For God's sake, it walks around on the ground. It's a bird, it has to walk around on the ground. A chicken hawk flying by. Ooh, a bit hungry. Ooh. The way I see it, chickens have always been takeaway. Seriously, if they'd evolved any more, they'd with chips thrown out the side and be sweating mayonnaise. It's fair to eat, right? Because I like junk food. I used to like junk food. Junk food's bad for your happiness, and especially if you're suffering from depression and stuff. No nutritional value makes you feel bad, right? And then don't get sucked in by all the healthy alternatives and stuff, and don't, go, oh, Subway's all right. Well, Subway, the food might be all right for you, but isn't that a pain in the ass to go to Subway? I hate that shop, because what happens when you go into Subway? I don't know why, but for some reason, it's just a barrage of questions. As soon as you walk in the door, it's like a bloody interrogation, Do you want white bread or wholemeal? Do you want 6 inch, do you want 12 inch? Do you want meat on that? Do you want it hot? Do you want it cold? Do you want cheese on that? Do you want salad on that? It's like, man, do you know how to make a sandwich? Do I have to give you instructions? You come around there and do it for you. What the heck? It freaks me out. They're asking all those questions. They've got those rubber gloves on. I'm flushing back to Bangkok Airport. There's no way to have lunch, alright? You should also exercise to be healthy, and I know that sucks. I hate exercising. People love exercising. Although people always say, I feel so good after exercising. I always feel so good after exercising. Nobody ever says, I feel good during exercise. If you notice, it's always after. Pretty much that's like banging your head against the wall for half an hour, and then when you stop going, oh, that feels better. I feel good now. Not so good while I was hitting my head against the wall, but I hate exercise. I can't do it at all. But although last week, me and 3 of my mates, we went out and we bought racing bicycles. Those touring road racer. I don't actually know what they're called, because the truth is we actually don't like riding bikes, and we sure as hell don't like racing. But what we do really like doing is wearing brightly coloured lycra and sitting in cafes. And as we discovered, you just can't get away with that without the bikes. 4 guys in lycra getting out of a marina. That's my only foray into exercise. So like I said, all tonight, the aim of all the stuff that I'm talking about is all these things will help you feel better about yourself, because they'll remove the stresses and get rid of all the pressures and anxieties that we have, right? Because that's what happiness is. The happiest you will be is when you are being yourself, removed of all those sort of things, okay? So when you go home, try and work out what the stresses are. If you can't change something, accept it and wait for a time that you can change it. It's no point losing sleep over stuff that you can't control right now, okay? All that sort of stuff. And once you do all that, once you strip it all away and start feeling like yourself and, find good friends and, better relationships, whatever it is you do, it's not to say that, life becomes this joyous thing and birds will be tweeting and music will be following you wherever you go. That's not what the happiness is. I mean, what we're trying to do is just change the bar. Basically, surely it's better to have a few sad days in a generally happy life than to only have a couple of happy days in a sad life. All right? It's about shifting that bar. So you can do that. Like I said, all those things we can change. And if some of that stuff seems hard, there's another thing you can do that's really simple, and that is just try and smile. Try it now. Just everybody. Just give us a smile. Don't have a smile. See? Already start feeling better, right? If you smile, what happens is when you're happy and there's endorphins going through your body, the body makes you smile, okay? But your body's not that smart. And if you actually smile, your body thinks, oh, he's happy, and it will pump those endorphins back in, and you actually feel good. Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's a smile, smile at strangers. It's fantastic. I mean, sure, they might think you're a bit mental, but you'll get more space on the bus. So, So smile as much as you can. The slogan I wrote for the show, some of you probably saw this, it's life is a gift, pretend you like it. Right? You can buy those on transfers too. But seriously, like if you go about pretending that you like life, you never know, you might actually fool yourself into believing it and you'll start feeling better, okay? So that's what I want you to do. I want you to go out and be happy. And like I said, it doesn't mean that things are going to always be great. There will be tough times. Things won't go well. And sometimes before things get better, you will have to throw up in your underwear. Alright? So I want you to go out, I want you to find the happiness for yourself. And if I haven't made you happy tonight, I don't know what else to say, except I have chocolate to give you. And it's not just any chocolate too, it's free chocolate. So that's and it's very special chocolate. It's most very special Gavin Baskerville is happy chocolate. Look at that. That's the name. They're not tabs. I should point that out. The smiley face. It's like if it wouldn't be Gavin Baskerville is happy. It'd be Gavin Baskerville is in jail. That's next year's show. On the way out, I'll give you all a chocolate, which you get to, like I said, it's a little happy chocolate. What you can do with that, you can eat it yourself, and it will make you a bit happier, because chocolate, again, scientifically proven to make you happy, all right? Or, if you, the other thing you can do is maybe give it to somebody who needs a bit of cheering up.
No.
Yeah, isn't that nice? And that's what I want you to do. I want you to go out, I want you to feel happy, and better still, I want you to spread the happy. Because happiness is contagious. Right? It's definitely sexually transmitted. So get out there and have some fun. You guys have made me extremely happy by coming tonight. I'm really glad you could come along my second final, penultimate night. Thank you very much. I'll see you outside for some chocolate. I'm Gavin Baskerville. I hope you're happy.
Thank you.